Next, we're going to talk about the catering perspective and venue perspectives. And the caterer that I'm bringing in is Alicia from Morin Catering and Events. And I've worked with them for so long, I can't even begin to tell you. An amazing amount of venues. Joe, you are the best. Slide that right in. Excellent. Alicia, come on in.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. She provided the wine again, so we got to give credit where credit is due because of the wine. So,
I can't have it, so
I
I
know
wanted
she
to share
can't
it
have
with
it.
you.
Now, when do you do?
January 7th.
Right
So
around the corner.
coming up really quickly.
These holidays can't go fast enough for her right now. So I know that Russ Morin is a legend in the industry. He's been out there quite some time. I'm personal friends with him. I see him at conferences. I see him at more events than I can count. And one of the biggest things that comes up is obviously food satisfies the event. I mean,
Yes.
it's a major, major, major component.
People remember good food and people remember bad food.
Absolutely. Then the other component is talking about where to have that food, where that venue is. So I kind of want to have you, before we even get into the food, and I'm being anal here, is that I want to have you kind of give us a little bit of an overview on venues. Because I want to have you talk about the types of venues that you have.
Absolutely.
A lot of times people don't realize, especially some of the venues you're at, that they're actually available for events.
Absolutely.
So can we kind of just do a quick run through some of the venues you work with?
So if we're starting right here in Providence, closest to us here we have the Skyline at Water Place, which actually has a free bridal event coming up this coming Sunday.
That's right.
From 12 to 4. So if you're in town, feel free to stop by. And then we also have the Providence Public Library, which has obviously a public library side, but then it has a beautiful event space. A few different rooms, so it does give you that very palatial feel.
It's unique.
It's very unique. Right. A little bit outside of downtown Providence, we have the new Waterfire Art Center, which is a very industrial space, which the whole industrial look is really hitting the marketplace big right now.
It's kind of the trend.
It is. It's the incoming trend. So we're coming a little off of the boho, rustic feel. I mean, that's still very prevalent, but the industrial look is really coming into play right now. And the Waterfire Art Center is amazing. I mean, it's huge.
It's massive. It's a massive space.
Yeah, I mean, we can do a full seated dinner for probably about 600 with cocktail space.
600.
Mm-hmm. And 1,000 if it's just
600 people at a wedding.
Yeah. We have requests for it, so it happens.
That's amazing.
If you did a cocktail style reception instead of a seated dinner, then we could actually do 1,000 people.
Wow.
So it's a really amazing and very interesting space, blank slate there. As you go a little bit outside of the city, we have Roads on the Patuxent in Cranston, which is, I'm sure everyone is familiar with. Yeah. It's a wonderful space. They've actually done a lot of work this year to bring it a little bit forward. So they've done some draping and lighting and new chandeliers. So if you are familiar with it or you've had your prom there, definitely check it out because it is not the same place that you had your prom.
It's not your grandfather's venue.
It's not your grandfather's venue, is right. Then if we go a little outside of the city and you maybe travel a little bit further south, we have Mount Hope Farm, which is down in Bristol, Rhode Island. That is wonderful, gives you that rustic feeling. They have two different venues. They have 127 acres, so they have two different venues between the property. One at the top, which is the barn, and then down on the water, they have Cove Cabin, which is a tented reception for most clients.
That's right.
That can be really flexible on guest count because the tent does typically come in for each individual client. Then if we go down into Newport County, we work with the Newport Art Museum, which is an amazing historical venue, a little on the smaller side, but perfect for those intimate gatherings.
Okay.
We also work down there with the Car Museum, which is right on Bellevue.
Which is still relatively new itself, the museum.
It is, yep. Yeah. So that is relatively new, and it is constantly kind of evolving. They have cars that
come in and out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So it is a very interesting venue. We actually have View as well, which is a very not a large venue, it's very small, more rehearsal dinners and maybe morning after brunches. That's tucked in behind actually our Car Museum. We have the Newport Car Museum as well, which is in Portsmouth. That is brand new.
Yep.
So the Newport Car Museum is again not quite the same as Audrain. It's a little larger than that, but it is definitely a car museum, so you have that feeling. Then if we go outside of the Newport area, we have, in Mattapoisett, we have Shining Tides, which is set right on the water. It's a beautiful venue. It is a covered deck with a big lawn and a beach where you can actually do your ceremony depending on your guest count. So that's fun.
There you go.
And then in New Bedford, we have the Whaling Museum, which is a very interesting venue. They have 2 different spaces there. They have the Harbor View Gallery, which gives you a skyline view of Newport and the bay. And then they also have the Jacobs Family Gallery, which has 2 life-size real whale skeletons hanging above the gallery.
Well, that's interesting.
So with lighting and different elements that you can bring in, as interesting as it sounds, it actually is really cool, and the pictures are amazing at that venue.
I bet. So you brought up a good point when you brought up the beach there, so kind of segue that. So that's a lot of venues, and
it's a lot,
and there's a lot, and there's even more out there, and there's venues that you can come up with that they can go to. So it's kind of that.
Those are not the
theme.
only places that we work. Those are just the places where we're exclusive. We work at a lot of places in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and southern Massachusetts as well.
Right.
So we are kind of all over the place.
So the point you brought up though about the venue with the beach is that a lot of these places now you can go and have your ceremony at the venue and then transition to your cocktail reception, your
Absolutely.
dinner, all that kind of thing. And that seems to be, I don't know if I want to use the word convenience, but it's probably a good word, a convenience factor that ties into it from not having your guests transition and move around. But I would say most of those venues mentioned have that ability, right?
Pretty much every single venue that we work at has the ability to have ceremony on site. Obviously, it all depends on your guest count and how you'd like to use the space. So the spaces are as flexible as we can possibly make them. But there are a lot of places, let's say like the Providence Public Library or Skyline or Mount Hope Farm, that have kind of spaces that are work really well for ceremony or are even dedicated, let's say, to ceremony. Whereas other venues like the Waterfront Arts Center, you need to be a little bit more creative, but it absolutely will work on site. Right. It's just a matter of moving some things around and having an open mind and having a vision for how you want the day to look.
So when someone's coming to you guys, and you've got very seasoned professionals. I think I mentioned at the beginning that Alicia and I sit on the board together of the International Live Events Association for the Rhode Island chapter. I'm back on it after being off for a long time. But
we're so happy to have you.
Thanks. Thanks. And we actually have an event tonight, the two of us. So we're going to be together throughout the night. I'll be drinking her wine all night long. Don't worry about it.
I need somebody too.
No problem. I happily accept. So one of the things that comes together and bring these professionals is organizations like that help expand and train. And Debbie, who's going to join us next, I've got wonderful things to say about her and her participation in that. So we'll get to that when she comes in. But from the education perspective, which is what International Live Events Association is to us, when someone comes to you, first of all, they're thinking food, right?
Of course.
It's the first thing they think.
Most of them, yes.
But then when they find out that you've got all these great options in these venues, are there ways, and maybe this is a tip or a trend in and of itself, that the food is kind of fitting the theme of the venue now? Is that something that seems to be out there a little bit?
So we're seeing a lot of clients are actually coming to us that have had our food and like our food and are more open to the location or open to the idea, and they come to us first and say, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm thinking. But a lot of them will augment. So if somebody is originally thinking the Providence Public Library and then they end up at Mount Hope Farm, they may go from
changing that menu style.
Right, exactly, a very formal, black tie event to something a little bit more casual or family style or stations. So we do see the
kind of a theme.
The theme of the venue really bleeding into the whole day, including the food.
Yeah, and it's something that I recently attended a wedding that was on a beach, and that was kind of the whole thing, is that certain styles of food that you can serve on a beach that are beach friendly, I guess you would call it. So I think that those are all things to bounce around with you and keep in mind. And I want to get to this awesome food in a minute, and I'll be sipping wine again in a second. But one of the things that comes in, and I think it's important for people to realize, is that consultation is not the right word to sum it up, but it's really an encouragement session.
Absolutely.
To help people realize that some of their dreams can come true in the styles that are out there. And you guys do tastings with these people, correct?
That's correct, yes. So if you're at one of our exclusive venues, then we do venue-specific tastings where you actually get to experience an event in your venue for the most part.
Okay.
If you are at one of the venues where we're maybe not exclusive, then we have other options as far as tastings are concerned. So the idea of the tasting is really the opportunity for you to try not only our food, but see our presentation. So you may not try exactly what you're going to offer that day. You may, but you may not.
Right.
The idea is just so that you can see and be comfortable with everything that we do. I mean, we have amazing chefs on hand in all facets of the kitchen, from our production team that actually preps the food and, dices the carrots and portions out meat, to the on-site chefs that actually come and are preparing your food that day, because we do cook everything on site for all of our clients.
So you're giving yourself that experience, which is important, because you're kind of giving yourself a taste of what it's going to be like and what's going to be there and how you're going to feel sitting in that space, which is a great thing. So when you go to someone like Alicia, make sure you're asking that question, because it's right there for you. Now let's talk about some of the styles. First of all, what did you bring today? Because these are all things I'm really dying.
So today we have some new items that our research and development team is working on. So these are actually
a research and development team for the food.
I know. So these are actually not even items that are on our menu yet. So you're getting a first sneak peek.
Oh.
But here closest to yes, please do.
I am.
Closest to you, we have these are actually beet poached deviled eggs. So the orange are a ruby beet poached deviled egg, and that is that has a Bloody Mary filling. That's a golden beet poach, and then these are ruby beet poached with just a traditional filling, and then they have cornichon black lava salt on them.
Wow.
So they're kind of fun, a little different. Really, the play on colors is the most important thing with these.
Wild. Yeah.
Then here you have, this is a blackened tuna with a ginger pear relish on a purple corn chip. These are barbecue chicken lettuce wraps, if you will.
Well, that's all me right there. That's healthy and chicken at the same time? All right.
They have a little pickle on them, and then just some toasted sesame seeds as well. And here you have an avocado and jalapeno mousse, and that is topped with jumbo lump crab salad. It has a little bit of pepper, a little pineapple, and then a sweet chili lime in it as well.
So, besides the fact that these are unique and out there, one of the things I love is that look how easy these are. Like if you're a
They're
guest,
really fun.
But to be able to eat them. So like
Yeah.
that's something I think that a lot of us don't. I mean, us in the industry do. But if you go to an event, you're thinking about it. First thing you do is you have an appetizer and there's dripping down the front of you, and you got 3 more hours to be at this event.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's not a fun thing, especially when you're the bride of the groom or in the bridal party.
No.
It's not a fun thing. But to have and think about that style and ask those questions about things that are easy. I mean, look at this. I mean, that's like perfect.
Well, and the nice thing as well, for our style of service, any item that comes with a hard good, like this has a spoon, we have other items that come with picks on them.
Yeah.
Anything that comes with a hard good, we have 2 dedicated staff to every single one of those past hors d'oeuvres. So you have a passer that's coming around with that hors d'oeuvre, and you also have a clearer that's following that person. So that way, when Rick grabs this and takes a little bite, he's not standing there for 15 minutes with a spoon not knowing what to do with it.
My toothpick ready to drop on the floor.
Right.
And that's one of my biggest pet peeves, so I can tell you this from my perspective, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree, I hope, is that seeing clutter. So like, I don't want to walk around and see empty food dishes or a fork here or somebody's half-eaten cracker or whatever. Those are all things that you want to make sure that you have in the back of your head to worry about when you've got people like this to do that.
That's also one of Russ's biggest pet peeves, so that comes from the top down in our
One of the
company.
reasons we get along so well, Russ. Thank you. Oh, that drives me crazy. I'll be doing that tonight at the event, make sure that doesn't happen. So
I'll take pictures.
Hey. So amazing tips that are coming out there, from your venues to the style of food to sitting down with the chefs, your menu design. These are all things that come together, and you have to face when you're doing this that it is a process, but you can make it an enjoyable process.
Absolutely.
And from the gamut of talking about, we were just talking with Erica about budgets, is that you guys have a wide array. I mean, and not just from the venue rental side of things where you go in and a plethora of choices, but also from the style of the food that you do.
Yep. So we are a fully custom caterer. So we have obviously a menu of things that we often use or we have found are very successful. But we also have gone to the lengths of recreating family dishes. I had a client probably 3 or 4 years ago whose grandmother couldn't be at the wedding. Unfortunately, she wasn't with them anymore, and she always made this one particular type of roll.
That's awesome.
And so they got us the recipe, and we actually were able to recreate her grandmother's recipe for all of the guests to have at the wedding. So, you can bring in little elements like that as well, part of your family or part of your heritage. If you're willing to share the recipe with us, we're happy to recreate it. And then from there, you can really adjust. As long as you're open and a little bit flexible, we'd be happy to try to find a way to work with the price point that is most comfortable for you. So, obviously with off-premise catering, it's a little different than maybe at a hotel or something of that nature. We do have to bring all of our own ovens and fry-laters and grills on site, so that does add a little bit of overhead costs that you don't see in those locations where catering's in-house.
You're transporting a kitchen, basically.
Exactly. We're creating a mobile kitchen on site at these venues that don't have a kitchen or were not originally designed to do events.
Right.
So that does, have a little bit of overhead fixed cost that we can't really do much about. But as far as the menu is concerned, we are certainly happy to be flexible. If you really love, let's say, lobster, and it doesn't make sense in your price point for your entree,
There's another way to incorporate it.
There's another way to incorporate it. We could put it into past hors d'oeuvres or on a station or something of that nature during cocktail hour.
So Alicia's someone that I'm going to be using for an example or a resource, I should say, and examples of things going forward because of all that they put into this. So I'm really glad that she could join me today. I'll be with her tonight, so don't be surprised if you see me texting or tweeting out different things or Instagram or whatever the hell it is I do while I'm with her. But you'll see that we're got a lot of great people to get their ideas and thoughts together. So thank you to all the team at Morin Catering. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
We're
it.
happy to be here.
All right.